Saitama vs Tatsumaki continues. This chapter's cover shows Metal Bat, who looks determined and ready to fight. This is funny since he doesn't get much attention this chapter. It's still a cool drawing, showing a more sketchy style from Murata. In this chapter called In the Middle of Something, we jump into the action as Tatsumaki smiles and threatens Saitama. She says that she can't trust Saitama with her sister's safety because she doesn't think he's good enough. And Saitama doesn't feel like fighting at all. He thinks about going home instead. The poor guy can't catch a break, and Tatsumaki makes sure to show that by using her psychic powers to shred the jacket covering his Mensuyu shirt. At least he still has his Crocs. Saitama voices his unhappiness at losing his clothing by shouting, "Ah, my jacket!" And Tatsumaki responds by reeling her arms back like a baseball pitcher, telling him that she's not done yet. She launches her Esper power at Saitama, sending him away from her, and all he has to say is, "Oh," and then a few more times as he bounces through the air like a ball. Back at the Hero Association apartment complex, Fubuki, her group, and the heroes are still trying to figure out what's going on. Fubuki is still thinking about what Tatsumaki said to her, that her group isn't strong enough to be around her. She knows that Tatsumaki doesn't bluff or go back on her word. Fubuki is upset by what's happened and wishes she could stay with them all. But they'd be in danger if she did, and not only from Tsukuyomi. Lily speaks up first, taking Fubuki out of her inner thoughts. Along with the others like Eyelashes and Mountain Ape, they all bow their heads in shame that they couldn't do more to help her. Lily and Eyelashes say that they'll be better in the future and they'll never make that mistake again. At the same time, they want to know more about Tsukuyomi and their unethical research. Fubuki's eyes are very sad as she looks down and tells them, "We're done." The Blizzard group can't believe what their leader is saying, and their eyes are bulging with shock. Fubuki tells them that the group has been disbanded with a face that no longer shows sadness. She tells them that they are too weak and don't help her as subordinates. She sounds more like her sister when she says this. She leaves them with these shocking words and floats out of the underground area while letting them know that they'll be going their own ways now. Despite her saying "don't follow me," a few of them still try to as they see her rising through the complex. But listen, helping the plot army rise up is as simple as one punching the subscribe button. We jump to End City next, where we see a line of warehouses in a quiet area. A hero is surrounded by bad guys, and some of them have been knocked out. From what one of the punks said, Feather is the hero who is in over his head and tried his best to take this whole gang down. To remind you, Feather was one of the heroes brought in to help during the raid on the Monster Association. And his moves were so good that they even impressed Sweet Mask, even though Nyan was able to beat him in the end. We can at least say that he did a pretty good job, given how many people were around him. But like the man says, Feather is too injured to take the rest on. Another man points out that the hero was so easy to trick, meaning this was all a plan to lure him here in the first place. The plan was to make him think a woman was in danger, but he had to come alone or she would get hurt. The gang, as it turns out, is the strongest in End City and call themselves Iron Fist. So of course they were confident in being able to stop Feather and beating him up good. But letting him come alone shows how foul they are, and they probably aren't very good at fighting. One of them even mentions, if 5 more A-class heroes had shown up, they would have been in trouble. Another guy denies that, since their boss didn't even get involved in the fighting yet. So maybe they're not as weak as they seem. The man with the mohawk and metal knuckles asks Feather, "Got any last words?" But all Feather wants to know is that the woman they kidnapped is safe. He even tells them to swear they're telling the truth. And as we see him, covered in cuts and bruises and sweating, there still seems to be some fight in his eyes. He looks like he's ready to get up in case a woman is hurt after all. Nonetheless, the Mohawk man tells a woman to come out. Her name is Erica, and it seems like she's in on the plan to take down Feather too. A woman in a long dress with dark hair stands before him, unbothered and cold looking. Feather knows Erica, so he's confused about what's going on and why she seems completely fine. She says that she's been lying to him the whole time, telling Feather that she's really in a relationship with the gang's leader, Big Iron. That seems to hurt Feather more than all the beatings. Because Feather was planning to take down the Iron Gang, the boss purposely sent out his beautiful girlfriend to act weak and innocent. She even says her acting was bad and he didn't notice it. For the long time we were together. How long do you think she was his fake girlfriend? She recognizes that he's a model hero since he didn't hesitate to assist her when she asked. But to make matters worse, she tells Feather that she almost laughed out loud at how seriously he was taking the fake situation. She turns away and says, "I can't bear to look at you." Meanwhile, the Mohawk guy finds it all hilarious and compliments her on being such a scary woman. Feather joins in on the laughter, which only makes the gang laugh more. They think he's chuckling because they broke him mentally. But he doesn't care about what they say. Instead, he tells Erika, "You are a terrible actor." At that, we finally see her true face, a very affected woman with a tear sliding down her cheek. That's when Big Iron himself shows up. As he stands behind his gang, towering over them with his massive frame, he walks forward. He demands to know why they're having such a tough time with a single lousy rat. All his minions can say is, "Boss," knowing they're in trouble. Big Iron is not only massive in size, but he's got some interesting curled eyebrows to boot. He sees that Feather is already weakened, so he wonders if he should join in and finish him off. But Feather has more energy now that he knows that there are no hostages and Erika is fine. In fact, he stands up from the broken wall, ready to go crazy on them. He tells Erika, "Just you watch," as he prepares to perform his best techniques yet with a confident smile. Then Cape Baldy gets pushed through the building and hits his bald head on Feather's back, ruining everything. The A-class hero is lying on the ground, sizzling from the surprise attack, while Saitama is on all fours and tries to say sorry for whatever he did. He tells the others to send the bill for repairs to that lady out there, pointing to Tatsumaki floating outside. But that's also when Saitama's hero senses come back and he sees all the injured goons in the warehouse. Even though they aren't innocent people, he tells them to call an ambulance anyway. When Saitama sees the damage, he thinks that they're to blame for all the unconscious men. He yells at Tatsumaki about how dangerous it is to blow through a building. Tatsumaki thinks he did it because he's the one that went through the wall. She doesn't blame herself at all. Saitama lashes out, trying to make her realize it's her power that made him get blasted in the first place. He follows this with more apologies to the gang, telling them that they'll be out of the way soon. No one in the gang knows what to do, and they're all sweating because they know they're no match for the number 2 S-class hero. Feather gets accused of having lied and called other heroes for backup. Clearly, they don't know Tatsumaki at all. She wouldn't be an A-class hero's helper. She wouldn't help anyone. While that's happening, Erika looks down at Feather after Saitama hit him with his hard skull attack. But Big Iron doesn't give up. He tells his group not to be afraid because a single S-class hero can't do squat. He also plans to kill them so that their reputation as a gang will grow even more. Saitama tries to calm down the gang leader, but Big Iron rushes him before he can and calls Saitama a weakling. Still, Saitama sends him flying backwards with blood splattering in the air with a single unnamed punch. The gang looks at the shape from below, panicking. Saitama asks, "Who are you guys?" And they throw the same question at him, knowing they're in deep trouble. Even though they saw their strongest member get blown away like nothing, they still think it would be a good idea to fight Saitama and Tatsumaki. They run forward, shouting insults and vowing to bust their heads open. The Esper doesn't take this very seriously and tells him to shut up because she's doing something with Saitama. Moments later, everyone is knocked out, thrown around, and piled on top of each other like garbage. And the warehouse seems to be almost gone. When Feather wakes up, he sees a total mess, but he doesn't seem surprised by Tatsumaki's behavior or the fact that she's gone. Feather tells Erika that despite this, he doesn't think she tried to trick him. When he met her, she was really in trouble and needed his help. Disregarding all they've been through, he tells her, "From now on, you can be free like you wanted." Unfortunately, Feather doesn't get the credit. Erika is starstruck as she holds her hands together, thankful that Tatsumaki saved her. She even plans to send a fan letter to thank her. Feather is still smiling, but it's clear that he's dying on the inside. He got hit by Saitama, who he compares to a moving car, and he didn't get to save Erika and show off his full power. So he plans to go home, sleep, and pretend none of this ever happened. We jump to H City next, because Tatsumaki is still not done with Saitama. But before they get there, people are running for their lives because an emergency message told them that monsters are coming. Everyone is trying to evacuate, but the cars are blocking the road and creating more traffic. In the background, there's the monstrous shadow of a dangerous spiky beast. It used to be a demon level threat, but now it's a dragon level threat because of how big it is. The announcement tells people to stay calm, but the threat level is going up, and the entire city being evacuated causes major panic. The streets are full of vehicles that can't move, so people get out of their cars and run around them, trying to get away on foot. The dragon level monster, Kenzan Rat, looks like a kaiju Sonic the Hedgehog. Even though he walks on 4 legs, the spiky hair on his back causes him to crash into buildings or cars he misses as he moves forward. He even breaks the highway. If that wasn't enough, we find out that almost all of the east side of H City has been destroyed. With buildings falling over just because Kenzan Rat went by, the news says that if this keeps up, civilization might be in danger. Even scarier is that all the emergency help that was sent to the area has been destroyed by the monster, which we can see on live coverage. But then there was a small glimmer of hope because Metal Bat was told to stop the hedgehog-like monster from causing problems. Everyone seems to be following the news as we see their phones and the live view. The helicopter above the scene is hoping that Metal Bat will come and stop the threat before too much damage is done. They hope to see it for themselves since they can't stay around anymore. Hurry Metal Bat is a thought followed by his sister's innocent but worried face as she thinks about him running into danger. And there's a kitty in a basket in front of her. But he gets there, sweaty and out of breath and running at full speed. His problem isn't reaching the monster in time though. It's the fact that he doesn't want to miss his cat giving birth to kittens. So he's not only panting, but he's also very angry that no other S-Class heroes were around to do this job instead. Pissed off, Metal Bat is planning revenge if anything happens to his cat Tama. Finally, Metal Bat reaches the giant monster leaning against a building. Swearing like a sailor and still sweating all over the place, he points his weapon at the monster. "I had to run a marathon to get here," he tells the monster as if it cares. And before Metal Bat can unleash his anger, Saitama and Tatsumaki come back and smash right through the monster's face. When the monster dies, his body falls in the buildings he was leaning against, destroying them. Metal Bat just stands there, frozen. Tatsumaki flies through the air, holding Saitama by his shirt collar and calling him a stubborn bastard. Saitama's face says, "I want to go home," even more than before. She throws him away from her, telling him to fall down already. Saitama has fallen down many times. He just hasn't stayed down, and definitely hasn't been injured. The throw pushes Saitama even more than the monster was, sending him through 3 more tall buildings. Metal Bat looks up from below, shocked and annoyed. Saitama's angry too. He tells Tatsumaki, "I told you to stop destroying everything," because that's why he brought her outside the hero complex in the first place. Metal Bat is so angry that he doesn't even have a mouth. Instead, he's just a sweaty face with angry eyes and steam coming off of him. But before he can burst and attack someone, he reminds himself to calm down and take some deep breaths. He also tells himself that he needs to get home to his cat Tama so he can check on her situation. With kittens being born soon, he doesn't have time for this. So he stomps his way back home. As always, I'm Slice of Otaku. Thank you all so much for watching and have an awesome day. I love you.